emotional moment. All right, so Michael Flynn Jr., tell me the first time you saw this wall.
I mean,
What you felt.
No, it was just overwhelming. It was very powerful to kind of walk into this room and kind of see your life on, on display, so to speak. I mean, I started working for my father in really at the end of 2014. So like when I initially walked in, and I looked kind of, this is the first place I looked on the wall, and then I kind of just gazed around and was just like, you can't even believe that you lived through something like this, because that's really what this is. This is like, as much as you see on this wall, this is what we, this is what my family lived through, and I can't even like the feelings that come up just looking at this. It's definitely emotional, especially when I look at certain parts of the wall. When I was in here with my father the first time, he asked me where do you think the most significant, what was the most significant part of the of this timeline? And I think it's right here. And I kind of pointed to that specific meeting in the Oval Office, January 5th, 2017. Because there's been documented FBI 302 evidence now that we've seen where there was an actual conversation in the White House to basically throw the Logan Act nonsense that came from Joe Biden. This is why every time I see Joe Biden right now, I'm like,
he's one of the 39 that unmasked your dad.
Yeah.
Guess who one of the other ones was? Jamie Raskin's wife.
Jamie Raskin's wife, yeah, that piece of shit.
The lead impeachment manager to cover up the Fed's direction on January 6th, 4 years later.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
From the day after.
Yeah.
I think for me, this is probably when it all started.
Yeah.
When he was placed as a potential vice presidential pick for Trump, that's when the entire op started.
Yeah.
And that op started from these guys. 1, 2, 3.
Yep. It's just interesting when
and they're like, yep.
When you talk about this time period, it's like I'm looking at that date and I'm like, damn, that was like right before. Right after the GOP convention in Cleveland. And I remember being out there and he gave that big kind of fiery speech, and that's really kind of when a lot of hell broke loose as well. So that's interesting that you point that that time.
My research, yeah. So my background, I don't know if I've ever told you this. So
let's do it. Tell me.
For me personally, so the story from within the family, right? Inside looking out. I think I may have mentioned it during my interview. I'm the guy that was looking at it from his not only outside looking in, but also having worked at the Defense Intelligence Agency these years. But even before that, I had spent time in and out of the Defense Intelligence Agency as a military reservist, as a government civilian in this time frame, but also as a contractor from 2018 to 2022.
That's right. Yeah.
So that ecosystem and essentially that background training, considering that being a Green Beret and being in a special operations community, there's some overlapping networks of people that your dad knew and I knew. I didn't really know him, but I first caught wind of who he was when he wrote this.
Yeah.
Fixing Intel. And I'm reading it as a junior officer, captain, thinking, oh man, this guy's speaking truth to power.
Yeah.
And the name of the movie, Deliver the Truth, Whatever the Cost, is exactly, he started it right here. And the only reason why he survived public pressure and scrutiny, it's right here, public pressure and scrutiny, is because Gates, Gates protected him, the Secretary of Defense.
He was the only one that really came to his defense, and that was really the reason.
Then it called out it's called Fixing Intel, a blueprint for making Intel relevant in Afghanistan. So he called out the Intel community way back then. I went to a briefing where he spoke from Afghanistan via a VTC, like a secure VTC.
Yeah.
And he left an impression on me there as well as with this. And that's when I started to kind of study more closely his moves, right? As a just a junior officer. And then in 2012, I started at DIA. And then I was on the Ukraine crisis team in 2014. So check this out. It's all interconnected, man.